What's up, everybody? Welcome to another week of Q&A. This week, my guest is Scott Elliott of Chernobyl Studios. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here, man.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
It's amazing.
It's my pleasure. Yeah,
How's
man.
Everyone?
So for those who are hanging out in the chat who may not know who you are, go ahead and tell us what you do and how you are associated in the music industry.
All right. So my name's Scott, and I'm a secret adult entertainer. I'm just kidding. So actually, I'm pretty much just like most everyone else. I mean, I make my own music, create my own music, which branched off into, hey, I want to mix this, and then I want it to sound good, and then wow, wouldn't it be cool to help other people, sound good and stuff like that. And that's really the gist of it. I'm not any different really from anybody else who may be working from a home studio or in their apartment. I'm in an apartment or in your garage, and thankfully we have technology now like Neural DSP, we don't have to go out anymore, which is kind of difficult these days, but we have what we need now in the box and to do everything. So that's what I do. I specialize in the more extreme stuff, so black metal, death metal, atmospheric, really into that side of the genre, because that side of the genre sounds like shit. And it needs to sound better. So we need to get some people out there who can help black metal be listenable.
I agree. There's definitely a handful of like the older black metal albums I listened to, and I was like, okay, just gonna hit the skip button.
Yeah, if I can just put if Soothe had existed back then.
Oh, dude, yes.
It would have helped.
So what originally got you into the black metal? Was that the stuff that you were playing in a band yourself, and then that just transferred over to the mixing and mastering stuff?
All right. So let's see. I'm 35. So in the late 90s, I started branching off into more extreme music. So I grew up kind of a Corpse, DSI, Metallica. That's pretty heavy. And then I came across, completely by chance, two different albums, Cruelty and the Beast and In the Night Side Eclipse. And then that's where everything changed for me. By the way, guys, that's Cradle of Filth, Cruelty and the Beast, and Emperor in the Night Side Eclipse. One would call black metal, and another one would be called whatever, Cradle of Filth. But those two albums completely changed my life because it opened me up to European musical styles. Because American death metal was my jam. You know what I mean? And then I realized by accident that I could write music. I was just messing around on a guitar one day and moved my fingers down a chord while a melody was playing. And then I started getting ideas. I was like, oh shit, I actually can write music. This is interesting. And then a really good friend of mine, Tim Wilson, he's in Florida, amazing vocalist, amazing bass player. He actually did the vocals and the bass for my mixing extreme metal course. Amazing dude. He's like, hey, man, there's this thing called Cakewalk Pro Audio 9. You should check it out. Cakewalk Pro Audio 9 was released in 1999, and it's like one of the first DAWs ever where you could combine audio and MIDI and then bounce it out. So I started writing MIDI, and then, that's pretty much the beginning, the genesis of it all. It was an accident that I found out that I could write music, and it really was spurred on by listening to European black metal, and that's pretty much how it started.
That's interesting. So was there, some people say that they go for a specific genre, other people kind of have the genre pick them for their mixing and mastering, so was that a specific intention of yours to go towards the more extreme ends, or was that just you had customers coming to you asking for this specific thing from you? Yeah,
I absolutely gravitated towards black metal in that niche because, let's face it, for better or for worse, the immaturity of the genre means that it needs to sound like shit for some reason, which is dumb. There's one extreme where everything is airtight, locked on the grid, and transient perfect. That's also shit. Right. I don't like that. But then there's the other extreme where, well, if it's not a microphone inside of a tin can, inside of a tin roof with rain on it, then it's also, I don't like that. And there's a lot of really high quality black metal. Emperor, for example, In the Night Side Eclipse is not the most amazingly produced album ever, but it doesn't sound like complete total garbage. And the ironic thing about it is if you listen to Emperor live, the mixes are amazing and the songs are fucking awesome. All right. So, and that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to bring in, we got to bring in some production. We got to get stuff sounding good because a lot of people would appreciate, for example, black metal more or the more extreme things more if it wasn't so hard to listen to. I still remember the day where, I heard a blast beat on the radio. And I was like, wow. And nothing new to me because early 90s, I've been listening to it most of my life. Then you hear blast beat for Slipknot, I think did a blast beat for 0.3 seconds, and people were like, duh, it's so extreme. So, the barriers are being broken and people are getting into more and more extreme stuff. But it has to be listenable. You know what I mean? There has to be an element of fidelity there where it's not painful. You know what I mean? And that's really what attracts me to black metal because you can be way more atmospheric and epic and actually just in metal in general. You can just combine everything into one song as Crotch Duster did. I don't know if you know who that is. But that's the guy from Audio Hammer made a joke album where like songs go from different genres in mid-song. Go look up Crotch Duster. It's
yeah. Will do.
Yeah, not safe for work. I'll just say that right now.
Got it. Yeah,
So
no, I
anyone in chat,
definitely.
you're at work. Careful.
No, I know that feeling though. Like, there's definitely albums and bands that I've gotten into that I had to start at later albums to appreciate the music because the production and the mix quality was so much better later on, and then work my way backward in time. Like Gojira. Okay, Gojira is like one of my favorite bands of all time, but I had to start from Mars to Sirius and work my way backward to the Link because the Link to me was just like I couldn't quite get past like certain elements, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And then once I really got into From Mars to Sirius, I worked my way to the Link, and I was like, okay, I can appreciate this way more.
And then the problem with that is the elitism that comes behind it. Like, see, you just weren't ready for it. Fuck off. It's like, and that really happens to all of us too. I am guilty of it too, being 17 years old in a small town. Oh, I listened to Emperor. Fuck that Slipknot shit, fag. Sorry, not fag. Like fag as a person who misses the kickball, not in the sexual orientation way. All right. Remember, we're in our 30s. Okay, it was a totally different word back then. People are gonna be like, "Oh, neural DSP." But
it's fine.
But I was totally in that too. But then you literally grow out of it, and you're like, God, that was dumb. And then,
I remember for a long time, I was that dude that would like shit on like shred metal, right? Like it just like
and Michelangelo Badio.
Yeah. And then I remember the day I was sitting at a table talking with some other people, all other musicians, and then I heard somebody I didn't like parroting the same opinion back to me. Like, and I like heard him say it, and I was like, "Oh, he sounds like an asshole. I've been sounding like an asshole. Shit."
Yeah.
like
me?
Yeah. No, yeah. That was exactly it. I realized I'm like, "Oh, that's me. I'm an asshole. Okay, I need to like temper that shit down because elitism's not fun. Yeah. No, exactly. Elitism is not fun for anybody except for the elitist. And that's a very lonely road.
Yeah,
it's very sad.
Because when I realized I literally stopped caring, and then it dawned on me how much people just don't care. They do not care. They give less than 0 fucks. That's the honest truth of it. Especially now, because you just get slapped in the face from music links everywhere. SoundCloud. Where back in the day, you could just ignore a release of a CD because you didn't care. Now you open up Facebook and you got 700 people they want your attention all the time. Nobody cares. Everyone is super desensitized to it.
Yep.
And it makes life way easier because, I got a lot of music that I love to listen to. I can have a playlist that goes from Metallica to Gunship, which is a synthwave artist, to Bach, Mozart, and then Cannibal Corpse. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm not trying to uphold someone else's point of view of what kind of musician I should be. I just like what I like. Yeah. And I love 80s pop. I'll be the first one to say that.
Yes.
Huge fan. All right. I will on the regular put in some 90s Euro dance. I give two fucks what people think about it. Love it.
Yep.
But it also helps me as a mixer and makes my range of knowledge in music more dynamic. I get more ideas being like that instead of just sitting in the one genre all the time. So, but I mean,
absolutely.
That's that. I mean, so yeah, long-winded answer. That's how I got started, and I love music all the time. Used to go to bed with it playing, wake up with it playing, homework with it playing games while it's playing, writing music while it's playing. If that's counterintuitive, but I mean, it just used to be my entire life.
Right.
And,
right.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, that actually kind of brings up an interesting point as far as like what does music enjoyment look like now for you? Like, I know personally for me, I listen to like I've been listening to a lot lately to like lo-fi beats because it requires like zero investment of my attention. It's just in the background.
Won't pick up on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why I listen to synthwave, because it's so, for the most part, technically perfect, because it's mostly all loops and MIDI instruments that are run through VSTs. Definitely have the producer's curse. It has definitely shown up on my doorstep where, for example, the new Iced Earth album came out. Guys, if you don't know this, that's just a Slate preset drum set with the room samples turned up a little bit high. I can't listen to that shit. I mean, I am literally offended that Iced Earth, of all bands, would be so fucking lazy just to put a Slate drum kit, a Slate 5 preset drum kit on their album. That bothers me to such a degree that I can't even try to listen to that album. I can't. It's impossible.
Right.
So, yeah, music enjoyment usually means I'm going outside of metal to listen to different type of. So I'm going into the synthwave. I'm doing the 80s pop, the 90s Euro dance, or the old metal bands where the old Emperor stuff, the old shit, where it doesn't bother me so much.
Right.
But now, like, it's really hard. I mean, like Glenn Fricker's got. I don't 100% agree with Glenn Fricker's opinion about samples, but he has a really good point where everything sounds sort of similar now. I mean, back in the old albums, there were lots of mistakes, but you never heard them because they all sort of evened out. Now there's an album that's technically perfect except for one mistake, and it's like a sore thumb in the entire production. And
yeah, dude. I remember listening to the most recent Meshuggah album and hearing like string squeak from the bass, I think it was. Yeah. And it stuck out to me. Like, I loved it, like, in hindsight, because I was like, awesome, they left that in, like, yeah. and it was good. But yeah, it definitely, like, it stuck out so much to me that it like pulled me out of the song for a second to go like, wait, what? Hang on a second. Like, that's right. It was definitely different.
I mean, I don't edit guitars. Unless absolutely must have to, but I really don't like editing guitars because, you know, the ironic part of it is that if you edit guitars too tightly, it narrows the stereo field of them, right? That's the whole technique of doubling guitars, wideness, because the audio information is different. Okay, so you go in and out. So if you just shunk them all together real tight like that, you literally will narrow the guitar because they're too perfect.
Right.
So I don't do that. I just would rather have the guy re-record it if at all possible, or it just stays in like that, and I sort of just like I'll move a whole chunk instead of note by note, you know. And
yeah, well, I think that's actually a good segue into like talking about your Produce Like a Pro courses, like as far as guitar tone mastery and the mixing extreme metal course as well. Why don't you go ahead and talk about, you know, some of the aspects of those? Let's start with the guitar stuff since we're already like talking about like the you know, editing guitars and stuff like that. Yeah, go for it.
So guitar tone mastery, actually, I put that thing together. It took many years to do that. Because here's the deal, you know, I live in Eastern Europe for 10 years now, and things are different over here than they are in the States, where most people got a garage or they got a friend's house or a basement. Just plop an amp down there and, you know, close the door and you'll make some noise, but people aren't going to be too upset. I live in a huge complex where there's probably 1,000 people, and we're just all in apartments, and you can't make noise. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, how do I get crushing guitar tones? How can I do this without a real amp, right? And this quest started back in 2013. All right. And I've never mic'd a real cabinet in my entire life. Never once.
Mm-hmm.
So just put that out there. All right. All I did was I started to understand that, you know what, I'm going about it backwards. I used to think that it's all about the amp. I need the amp settings. I need some presets. And then it occurred to me one day, I'm like, wait a minute. This speaker sounds different from this speaker. I like this speaker more. And then I was like, whoa, you had a big old like eureka moment where I was like, I need to select the cabinet first. Well, how does that sound and how does that work? So Guitar Tone Mastery is essentially my method that I created for myself to where I can create really amazing, metal brutal tones with amp simulators, regardless of any amp, free, paid, doesn't matter. But doing a deep dive on cabinet impulses and how to work with them. And that's what that is. It's like 5 hours where I literally just go step by step. Here's what I do, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is why I do this. This is why I do that. This is what I'm listening for here. This is what I'm listening for there. And I found that teaching style really helped because it's talking about concepts. Because not everyone's going to have the same thing that I have, but they could still learn what it is I'm listening for. So they'll understand the process, right? And then they can apply it to what they're doing. So that's what Guitar Tone Mastery was. Because there's a lot of great videos and courses out there for real amps or Axe effects, or Kempers and stuff like that. That either weren't explained very well, or there was some studio magic happening. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
Behind the scenes stuff. But that's not the case with Guitar Tone Master. I just create the tones right there in front of you live, multiple different tones with multiple different sessions and plugins, and just proving that the process works all across the board, no matter what you're using. Free plugins included, like I said. But I mean, Neural's in there because.
Yes. Yeah.
Love Neural, but I mean, that's what Guitar Tone Mastery was. So it's very niche, very specific learning. So people who are in my situation who can use an amp simulator and they can get better results so their music sounds better, because no one wants to listen to a metal song with, weak guitars. I mean, that's just the fact.
Yes.
And they're so prominent in metal music that you absolutely require a good tone. That fits well with the bass guitar, so on and so forth. And then, mixing extreme metal is pretty much the same thing, just in the other gamut, where I was looking at it going, you know what? A lot of really great courses out there, lots of great information, but nothing in one place. It's always like that. Like, I love people who are like, why would I pay for this? I can just learn for free on YouTube. Okay, good luck. You can spend years, which is something you can never get back, going through all the different types of videos and trying to put it all together in a logical order that makes sense. Good luck to you. Me, I'll just pay whatever it costs, and the person who did that, I'll just gain their experience. That's fine. So that's what I do with mixing extreme metal, A to Z, complete production of a song, raw drum files, how to edit them, how to look at them, how to put them in phase, slip editing, what's an artifact? What does it sound like? What does an artifact sound like, Steve? Right?
Yeah.
We say that, and then you realize that is an artifact, but that isn't. And they sound very similar. So you have to really get in there and explain, like, this is an artifact. This is why. How do you fix it? Okay? And that's stuff for... I paid good money to learn stuff like that, honestly.
Yeah.
Drum editing, right? Looking at the DI files. What's a good one? What's a bad one? What does it mean when it's clipping? What does it mean when it's distorted? What does it mean when there's not enough input gain? Too much input gain? How do you work with it? How do you fix it? Okay? This is all pre-production stuff, all these decisions that you have to make before you even make a mix session. That's the thing, because there's a lot of cool stuff out there. A lot of it just showing here's how we do a mix. Well, completely ignoring the black hole of pre-production before you even get to the mixing part, because so many things can go wrong, right?
Yes.
So if it's impossible to fix it in the mix, well, why don't we show how we can fix it before we get to the mix stage? That's what mixing extreme metal is. So it's all the pre-production and the vocal tunings included. There's like a whole, there's a crap ton of tracks there, and a lot of work of pre-production went into that. Of course, the mixing is there. We do a remix of the song live. We go through it all, everything from how to make space for your kick drum and your bass guitar to work together because it's metal, right?
Yes.
To automation, which is something that seems to get lost as well, because it's always like this, right? We'll do the mix. So here's the mix, basically done, and then I would spend 2 days automating. Goodbye. It's like, we'll show the automation. What does that mean?
Right.
So that's what I did. Here's automating. I'm making this move because of this. We got to pay attention to this though, because and then So I mean, it's 10 hours. It's over 10 hours long, from A to Z. And I even show you how to make a stem mastering session to send off to a mixing or a mastering engineer, stuff like that. So
that's pretty important. Yeah.
It is actually, because I mean, there's people who don't even know that stem mastering exists and what it is, and so I mean, but it's not their fault, right? I mean,
right.
we sort of, it's not really their fault, and it's no one's fault, because even though the technology is open like this, we have the internet and there's so much information and stuff now, it's almost a net negative, because there's so much shit now. Who do you listen to? Who do you trust? Why does this guy? You can literally have a person who's never mixed a song in his life just be really good at marketing, make a shit ton of money selling courses how to mix songs. That's kind of what it's turned into. But this is why I really appreciate Warren and Glenn for giving me the opportunity to represent ProMix Academy with my skills. It was a very humbling experience to be able to work together with them. I have great respect for Warren and Glenn, and for just giving me the chance to be under their umbrella, basically, because it was a risk for them as well. Like, who the fuck is it? Scott? What the fuck is it? He makes really good stuff, though. But I mean, absolutely appreciative. And he's in
How
chat.
Did you?
Warren's always crushing it in chat.
Absolutely. Where did you get your start with Warren and Glenn at? Did they just pick you up and say, "Hey, we like your stuff"? And how did that relationship come about?
Totally by accident. So what happened was I created Guitar Tone Master a year and a half ago, actually, and I launched it and released it myself, which is fine. The plan was to do the long game. I was fine with it. And then a guy who picked it up, man, I believe, I'm sorry if I get the name wrong, but I think it was David Perez, I believe the name was. Dave, if you're watching this in replay and I got your name wrong, I'm sorry. But anyway, Dave and Glenn have a relationship. They hang out, and stuff like that. And from what I understand, from what Glenn told me, just one day, Dave was like, "Dude, you gotta look at that." And then Glenn checked it out and he's like, "Da, da, da." And then that's how that happened, basically.
Verbatim, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. No, I'm super TLDRing this conversation right now. But I mean, basically, just Glenn happened to see it, and then just sort of weird, because at the same time, I emailed ProMix Academy like, "Hey, I have this thing, you might want to check it out." So it was just like a complete accident, basically. And then Warren checked it out, was like, "This is cool," and then we got on board, and that's that.
Awesome. So was it what was the genesis, like the original idea of putting together the Mixing Extreme Metal course? Like, was it looking at YouTube and seeing so much misinformation or misrepresented information and saying, like, I could do this better and I want to give the information to the people that need it the most? Yeah.
And plus now, I just want to help people, because a lot of us are in a situation where, I don't think we need to delve too deep into this, right? But to give people an opportunity to use the time that they have right now, if they have more time than usual, without breaking the bank. You know what I mean? I remember the frustration, the feeling it was to scour YouTube videos just to try a simple answer, and it's like like they were blue balling you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like get you to the edge, and then they're like, "Bye." And then
make sure to smash that like button
and subscribe. Yeah. And then the outro music hits, and then it was really frustrating. and also because I wanted to combine all of my knowledge. I wanted to really sit down and look at my workflow, and it was also a way for me to get rid of some of the fat. Like, I don't need to do this anymore, or that's a time waster. And then to help others to really understand what goes into creating a song in today's age. Like, you can
Right.
hire a session musician to record drums for you. That's totally feasible. And for not a lot of money, you don't have to think that you're going to have to spend hundreds of dollars. It really depends. You can find really great musicians out there who are very competitively priced. Okay. Just don't go to the top YouTuber, because they're going to ask for a lot more money because they have 1 million subs or something like that.
They have the weight to ask for that.
Yeah. So, but there are a crap ton of amazing drummers out there who can get you a great result. And so I was like, so here's the deal. I have this song that I wrote. Really like this song. So I asked Tim, the guy in Florida, my friend for 20 years. I'm like, Tim, dude, here's the deal. I got this song. It's kind of Viking inspiring. It needs some vocals and bass and stuff like that. He's like, cool. He did the bass, perfect. And then he did the vocals, and he's like, hey, Scott, I got an idea. And he did this big choral section. And I was just like drooling out of my mouth. This is amazing. And then Alberto Fuentes, he helped me do the orchestral arrangement, because I can't read music. I don't know anything about it. I had orchestral ideas, but he really sat down with the keyboard. He's like, here, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. He made this amazing orchestral arrangement of, like, if there was no drums and guitars, it would just be a song by itself. It was fucking awesome. And then Przemysław from Baja from Poland did all the guitar recording for me, all the rhythms, solos, and all that stuff. And the idea was, I want to show what it really takes to work on an extreme song. Not so far as like, this is 320 BPM, there's 6,000 double K. I mean, extreme as in we have 60 plus tracks where there's polyphony everywhere. You have to decide at what point of the song which melody is going to go where and why. All right. You really need to mold the listening experience, which most of us in metal have zero practice in. None.
Right.
Maybe you do a little bit of vocal automation if a solo is happening or something. Other than that, absolutely zero. And I really wanted to show what really goes into stuff like this. And another reason I was doing that, because it was really pissing me off that, I get people who want me to work on their projects that don't want to pay, and they just don't understand how much effort goes into this stuff. Editing drums, technical stuff, that's one thing, but sitting down with a mix and solving problems day in and day out. The kick drum is masking the bass, but only in this fucking part. All right, I'll try some multi-band here. Multi-band kills it too much. Let's try some dynamic EQ. Well, it's not perfectly fixed, but fuck it. That's how we're going to have to go. And then getting the mix notes back and then going back and forth. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, and I really wanted to give people the chance to, practice on something like that, because I give you all the raw files to edit, all the multi-tracks that you can try mixing yourself. If you've got Cubase, you get all of the Cubase sessions. I give everything to you. Now, there's a lot of courses out there like, I'll give you the multi-tracks, but you can't post them on your site. Go ahead, post them. Just give me credit, practice, put it on your portfolio, please. Go ahead, go for it. And that was it. And then, yes, of course, getting all the information in one spot. That was the huge thing. Exactly with Guitar Tone Mastery as well. All of the information and putting it in one spot and giving it a logical order that makes sense. We're like, oh, that's why I should do that. This before this. The same thing with mixing metal. Really every single detail. I'm talking about, okay, guys, we're going to make a pre-pro session. Let's bring in the drums. Okay, we have 4 tracks here that we can combine together because we don't need all these extra tracks.
Right.
The power of consolidation. Okay. All right. Well, now we've done that. We're going to phase align them. That's all great and done. Now we're going to copy this as a new session, and we're going to save this one. All right. Because who remembers starting out editing drums all in the same session and then fucking it up? All right, there's a bunch of people raising their hands right now.
Yes.
Right. But I mean, you can either learn that the hard way, or you can get someone who helps walk you through that. And hey, be careful, you might do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And,
No,
and then
that's super good information. Like
all-
that's it sounds like you got pretty much from square one for the people who want to get into the style, and that's awesome. Especially because, like, honestly, like if you have good quality files to begin with, if you have good quality source material, the mix is so much easier afterwards.
Dude.
Like it's ridiculous. Like I've worked with like the real like garbage, like, oh, I recorded this on Audacity or I recorded it on my phone. Like I've worked with shit like that, and
Yeah,
it's
and you're
it's
just like,
not it's not easy. Like you have to work way harder, but then you get like good source tones. Like I mean, like I've been using like Get Good Drums. I've been using Superior Drummer 3 for like my program drums, so those are like clean. Euro bass, I just got a new bass that I used on a video that's coming out this week, so I'm really stoked on
Nice.
that.
Congrats.
And good guitars, like the Strandberg. Like honestly, I did an Artist Tones like John Mayer cover. Like so I did like 5 sections of John Mayer tracks or whatever, and that was like one of the simplest mixes that I've ever done. Because just I made sure that the source tracks, like the bass player that I sourced the material out to, so he recorded it. The drums that we recorded for that, all of that was so perfect. I did almost nothing to it.
And that's going to be a lost art, maybe, if technology keeps going the way it is. I just saw a comment. A guy was like, sometimes it's fun to make bad recordings sound great. It's never fun. I'm sorry. I have to disagree a little bit there. Maybe in my genre, it's never fun, because what usually that means is you have a drummer who can't play, thinks he can play, sent you stems that are literally uneditable. Like it's so far out of time, you can't do anything with it. Guitars where out of tune, it's over. If the guitar's out of tune, it's done, guys.
Right.
You can't do anything with it. It's over.
Yep.
It's done. You got to do it again. All right.
Yep.
And then bass, classic bass, can't play, super, way too dynamic. So I mean, in metal world, when you get a song that's poorly tracked, it usually means you're probably gonna have a better time just washing yourself with a cheese grater. It's just not gonna be a good time. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, by the way, everyone has to go through that phase to understand why good source material matters. Because the first time you get drums that are tracked quite nicely, and you're like, wait a minute, I only had to do one EQ to this. Only one EQ, got one EQ. I am never mixing anything like that shit ever again. I mean, so it goes like this, but
Well, that actually kind of brings up a good point. Like for those people who are watching, who are bedroom guitar players or living room producers like you and I, it's like I'm streaming from my living room. You also, and what would you say are the essentials, like the 80-20? What's that 20% of either investments or practice or knowledge that people can get them 80% of the way towards a finished product?
Practice. People have to practice a lot. I think that's actually one of the biggest mistakes that new people trying to mix fall into. Mixing, particularly mixing metal, because it's a genre that is not very forgiving. Because if it's not carefully and thoughtfully mixed, it's very easy to basically have just nothing. It's terrible. It's not like an open rock song where the bass is a bit flubby, but it's not a big deal because there's no double bass at 280. All right. Practice is the main thing. Because you know what I mean? It's like anyone who's tried playing guitar for the first time, you might have the result here, but your hands are like this. They don't get it yet. So you have to train yourself. You have to sit and you have to practice, and it sucks because you know what it should sound like, but you can't make it sound like that, right? And it's frustrating, and you get defeated, and the motivation goes away because motivation is useless. Motivation gets nothing done. Discipline gets it done. Discipline and practice, okay? It's okay to motivate yourself, but it's still at the end of the day, you just have to make yourself do it.
Right.
So practicing to mix or to do whatever it is you want to do is the main thing. That'll get you most of the way. The more you practice, the more it becomes muscle memory, and the more you'll internalize what you're doing. And also the other thing too is the more you'll practice, the more you'll realize things like, you know what, it'd be really cool if I could make tracks faster in Cubase. Let me set up a key command for that.
Yeah.
So now you have a key command.
Yep.
So in experience, you start creating all these key commands, and then you're just like blowing, flying in whatever DAW it is that you're using, which means that your brain is not allocating any energy into, okay, I need to make a track. I need to right click. Where the fuck is that? Oh, it's a folder here. Then you start menu diving, and then you get out of the flow of the creative process of mixing, right? And practicing also means that you're going to run into problems where you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's normal. So you should just work through it, try to figure it out. I remember really early on, I read some interview. I don't remember even what it was. But essentially what had happened is the guy solved a problem with one of his mixes by using a plugin that is not designed to do what he used it for. And I'm just like, how in the hell would you ever think of that? Ugh. Well, it just happened to him. It dawned on him just because he used that plugin so often for a particular feature, the idea came to use it for the other reason. Well, you get that kind of stuff when you practice mixing all the time. If you're always trying to do the most complicated techniques right away, like, well, this guy does cross-chain gating. I should try that. Like, why? Just do regular gating first. You know, get that figured out. You know, what does threshold do on your limiter? If you can't answer that, don't bother with sidechain gating or whatever. If you don't know what, you know, all these things do, because they're not named intuitively. Even I'm still like, wait a minute, what the fuck does that do? Right. You know, because it's all was created, you know, a long time ago. So practice will really get you, I think, most anywhere. Then not because practice means you will gain more knowledge by solving more problems, by coming across new things to fix. Okay. And practice will force you to put your ego in the closet. All right. Or you won't, and you'll never get better. All right. So here's the deal with technology today, with various presets and particular products. The barrier to entry is low, which only means that now we have a lot of people who slap on a preset and it sounds okay, but they're at that plateau now. Now they have to sit down and understand what that preset does and understand why it doesn't quite work, and then tune the mix and practice and mix again and not get the result that they're looking for because they're brand new, because their ears aren't ready yet. They don't know what they're listening for yet. They have a shitty room. They don't have monitors. They don't have good headphones. Okay? And that's actually where that plateau cuts off a lot of people, where they're just like, I'm done. Right? And that's with anything, guitar, basketball, football. It's not like music only, like we're special. It's with anything. There is a barrier at some point where you hit that wall, and if you really want to get better at it, you got to find a way over it. And most people are just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm good. Let's get a pizza. And that's fine. I'm not talking shit about anyone like that. I'm like that in many other things in life. I'm totally like that. Like, fuck that. I don't have time for that. Right. I mean,
I think it's really important to acknowledge that there's some people who will just be happy with doing just that, and that's totally cool.
Absolutely.
We're definitely talking more to the people who want to get more professional produced mixes, you know, or even just in general any sort of skill or talent that you want to develop. It's like, you gotta execute. Like I definitely want to add on to what you were saying as far as practicing is concerned, is that don't spend too long practicing the same thing. Practice.
Absolutely.
Like that's something that I felt has really improved my own personal mixes and productions, is the fact that, like, I'm lucky in a certain way, because I work for Neural DSP and I have deadlines that hold me accountable to everything that I do. So I cannot spend too much time on one particular mix, one particular tone. I have to dial something in. I have to get it to the best approximation that I can in the time that I have allotted, and then I move on. I learn from my mistakes, and then I start applying them to the next thing. And not only that, but also, you know, for I think I saw somebody say like, oh, is this just for metal? I think I don't know exactly what you're referencing, but like for me, learning multiple different styles has actually helped me become better in as a whole, rather than just sticking to one specific genre as well. So like the concepts that we're talking about apply to anything. Even if you're a metal mixer, go mix a pop song. Mix some synth waves.
It'll be totally different too.
It's exactly
a totally different experience.
Well, the troubleshooting is different. Like you have to adapt, and you have to learn different skill sets, and then from there you can take those and apply them to your original purposes.
Yep. And I mean, you have genres in metal that are so removed from each other. Death metal and black metal requires two completely different things. You have some bands that blend it together, but usually it ends up sounding more death than black.
Right.
And like I said, I mentioned earlier, I have a strong interest in synthwave. I bought a MIDI controller, an Artura Keylab 61, because I want to start getting into that. I want to see what that's like. And guys, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't fuck all about it. I don't know shit. I don't know how to mix it. I don't know how to produce it. And I'm a music engineer in metal. In metal, that's what I'm good. I went to synthwave. I'm like drooling on my keyboard. Like, wait, what? Wait a minute. I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. All right, so I mean, but it's exciting again. It reignited the.
Like the first time you open up a modular synth and you're like, what do all these things do?
Dude, I don't know shit. Oscillator. What's an oscillator? I still don't get it. Still sine waves, saw waves, all these different types of things. I bought Massive X from Native Instruments because Massive X comes highly recommended. And I opened it and I'm just kind of like, so now I know what it feels like to be the fucking pilot of a Boeing airplane, because there's shit everywhere. I have no idea what anything does.
Right.
What does this do? I need a course. I need to learn how to use this thing. Because I don't have the time to sit and tinker anymore. You know what I mean? I got a kid, family, and you know, with this stuff. But that's literally what has happened. You know, I'm going into a completely different genre, don't know anything, and feeling the frustration again coming over me. Like, oh my God, you know, what do I do? Because the mixing fundamentals are totally different. Everything, but it's cool. And don't practice the same thing. Like, get your mixes done, call it done. There's no such thing as a perfect mix. There's always a problem. Something's always fucked, but done is better than perfect.
Yes.
And that's why deadlines are cool sometimes. Hey, Steve, you're like, oh my God, listen, and this is it. This is the next, and you just gotta let it go. Yep. And more often than not, we are so critical of ourselves. I made a video about this with Warren, actually, about imposter syndrome, where perfectionism leads to just talking a whole bunch of nonsense about yourself. But having deadlines and stuff like that sort of puts you under the fire, where you don't have time to start getting into your head like that. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise when you're like, Nero calls you, hey, we need a demo track, 2 days, go. And you're like, but you somehow get a demo track done, and wow, sounds great. You know what I mean? So
yeah, man.
Cool.
The just to show my enthusiasm, when I originally applied for the content creator position, the content manager position, like I wrote, recorded, mixed, mastered, filmed, and edited a video, like a track and a video all in the same day. Because I was like, nah, I wanted to like, brutal. It was brutal. I woke up at like 5 a.m. I wasn't done until like 11 o'clock at night. I was just like sweating bullets the whole time. Like, but I did it. And I feel like that just made me a better person. Yeah, exactly. Like, it just made me better at what I did.
So I wanted to mention here, Chris said he doesn't really listen to metal, but he finds it's, sorry for jumping in.
No, it's
Chris, mixing this track is very difficult. It was difficult for me, and I'm used to it. But you're gonna learn a lot of new stuff if you're not in it and you want to grab it. A lot of stuff that can translate to other things that you do, because there's just so many different fundamental mixing techniques that mixing engineers use in metal that you will never see in country or rock, and obviously pop and stuff like that. But I mean, if you were ever at all curious what it's like to work on a song with double bass, blast beats, a gravity blast is in this song, what it's like to have 30 tracks of orchestral music on top of double track guitars, double track melodies, a solo bass, 9 different tracks of vocals plus choral vocals. I mean, this is it. This is it right here.
Awesome.
And it's and the cool thing is, I think you'll have a lot of fun. I think people will have a lot of fun in general going through it, because it's not like a puzzle maze. I literally just open this session and I go, we're going to do this today because ABC. And then we do it.
Perfect.
And so there's no smoke or mirrors or anything like that.
Yeah. No, that's, I mean, honestly, that's the best way to start out. Since we're getting to the last 10, 15 minutes of the Q&A.
Some cues here.
Yeah, we got some user questions. My wife.
24. That's the answer.
Yes. My wife is going to put the code for the metal mixing mastery course in the chat. All caps,
awesome.
Neural DSP.
Oh yeah, you guys are lucky.
Yeah. So if you're interested in checking out his course, use the code and you get a discount. So let's go ahead and go to some of the questions. Super serial. Yes.
Yeah, I love it that you're my age. Oh my god, all these jokes.
We were talking
Guys,
about
it's a
Arnold
South Park
Schwarzenegger
joke
movies
from like
before.
10 years ago, okay? It's a South Park joke from like 10 years ago.
Half man, half bear pig.
No, but what if it's more like a half pear, half man pig? No. It's more of a half pear man bear pig.
Yep. Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. All right, so Nomus Natus asks, okay, so simple question. What is the best Neural DSP amp for black metal?
Come on, Nameless. No, okay. I mean, Nameless because, see, here's the deal. Nameless because it has the ability to dial down the gain. A lot of black metal in the early 90s was all Marshall. Now it's differentiating a little bit. But I mean, I would have no problem using Pliny for some super atmospheric stuff. And Nameless is pretty much my go-to because you can dial it to sound good on a 7-string and a 6-string, standard E tuning, which I've done, to drop A sharp. So I mean, it's very versatile. But I would definitely go with the Nameless for black metal for sure.
Perfect. That's a good answer. The Nameless was actually the first plugin that I bought from Neural before I worked with them.
I've had it for years and no problem.
All right.
Good question.
Let's see. Hop Pole Studio says, would you say your mixing style was more modern or more classic?
For the mixing course?
Either
in
or.
general, I think it's pretty... This is interesting. I would say, if I understand the definitions correctly, would probably be more classic because I don't do any hip-top amazing techniques. It's very vanilla as far as my mixing goes. I don't even parallel drums. I don't even do that. No parallel compression. I'm sort of, here are my tracks and here's what I did.
Right.
You know, I really appreciate simplicity and doing things as simple as possible.
Nice.
Because I get confused easily. You know, I hate routing. It annoys me. And I used to think that back in the day, if I had 100 tracks, I was badass. And now I'm like, I look at a session that has 30 tracks, I'm like, because I got to make groups and buses and routing, and it sucks.
Yep.
But so if I understand what he meant by modern or classic, I would mean classic. But insofar as like it's just as simple as I can be.
Right. I find that simplicity is usually the best way to go. Once I actually started like limiting the number of plugins that I could use during a given session, like I found that actually like ended up helping me out more than hurting me.
Another thing about practice is you will understand what plugins you actually use.
Yes.
All right. And
I
then
have
realize,
a vast library and I only use 10%.
Yeah. I have thousands of plugins. I use this many.
Yeah.
And then you come to that point where you're like, oh my God, the new brand new equalizer that glitters and makes pancakes for you. Don't need it.
Let's see. Okay, so Chris Ibbotson asks, what reference material would be good for tonal balance comparisons reference for metal?
So it totally depends on the song that you're working on. So reference tracks are sort of a black hole in it of themselves because people talk about reference tracks all the time, but they don't exactly talk about what they mean by reference tracks. Okay. So for example, if I'm working on a death metal band, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be like, what albums do you like the most that have come out within the last 3 years? And who inspires you to write music? What do you want your music to sound like? They'll generally give you like 2 or 3 bands. You go and listen to those bands. And then what you have to do is you have to find, so let's just say that the project you're working on is an Apple. And then what you have to go do now is you have to find reference tracks that are as close to that Apple as humanly possible. It'll never be Apple to Apple. But what you're basically doing is you're trying to find a reference track that will be a roadmap where you can get a good idea of what the bass relationship should be in the song. Where does the kick sit? What does the bass sound like? What do the vocals sound like? Where is everything positioned in the mix? That's actually the use of a reference track. I know a lot of people use reference tracks like, oh man, I'm going to reference my guitars from this reference track. I'm sorry, that's silly because you have guitars that have been processed with EQ, compression, and then through a limiter. So, I mean, the best that you could do was get a characteristic of the guitar tone, i.e. presency, mid-rangey, okay? But then you have to still go off on your own and replicate however you can the best with whatever you're using. Same thing with the mix. Bass heavy, what does that mean? Is it kick heavy or is it actually bass guitar heavy? Does that mean that the kick is below the bass or the bass is above the kick, or what is in the subs? What's going on here? That's the reference track material. And the reason why you have to use the reference track, A, because you want the client to be competitive sounding in the genre that they're working on, and B, your ears start, you start training your mind of what the mix should turn out like. Okay, you'll never get your mix to sound like the reference track, by the way, because you are not the guy that mixed it. The reference track, I mean, but you can get it in the ballpark, and then you can have it sounding competitive, which is what you want it, what you want.
I always get very excited when YouTube copyright claims any of my Artist Tones videos.
Like, nailed it.
Yes, that's me. I did that.
Let me put that in my LinkedIn portfolio.
Right.
Cheers, Chris. Good question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Let's see. Jeffrey DeZellum asks, what skill or instrument do you think is most important to practice mixing? And he does have a second question. When is Synthwave Mastery coming out? Asking for a friend.
Synthwave Mastery, when I can understand what the hell I'm doing first. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But that's the cool thing. I have this really amazing idea where combining, like Dance with the Dead sort of does like a metal synthwavy thingy. But I have this idea to have a very aggressive cyber industrial death black metal project, but I really need to learn how to do the synth side of it. So it'll happen when I can figure it out myself. But right now, I still can't even locate. Oh, wait. Nope. Mod wheel. I know where the mod wheel is now. We're good. I'm pro. Anyway, the original, what instrument or skill?
What skill or instrument do you think is most important to practice mixing?
God, you're going to hate my answer. Jeff, please forgive me. Your ears. Well, let me say why, okay? Because I also always hated this answer because it would be like your ears. Oh, wait, no, I can do better. Your ears. Next question. Well, we're not going to do that. Your ears, because you are different from me. You're different from Steve. You're different from everybody else, which means that even if you copy or steal a technique from a producer or mixer, your result will always be different
Mm-hmm.
because your ears will just hear things differently, which is great, which is good. But you have to put them into practice, right? You have to. What does it mean to use? What does that even mean, Steve? Use your ears, bro. I don't even. What does it
It's
even mean,
I
right?
think for me it's just trial and error, like because I did exactly what you just described. Like I would go on to like I watched a bunch of like the mixing master classes with Nolly, and I would copy down each little preset. I'd copy down each little setting to like to the specific frequency,
Yep.
and I would listen to what I did, and I'm like, that sounds like shit. Like
Yep.
it just sounds like garbage. So
It does.
for
So what
me,
it means is you practice listening.
yeah,
But you have to practice listening, and the way that it worked out for me was practice listening to frequency ranges. When I could start to actually discern the difference between a kick drum sub and low mids and the bass, it really helped me clean up my mixes because now I finally understood what low mid mud actually was. It wasn't making an arbitrary cut here because this guy did it. That's what you should do. Yeah,
yeah,
because it doesn't work like that. So you have to get good listening source material. So if at this point in time, I would say just get yourself some 650s, Sennheiser HD 650s, like I have here. They're open back. They are a little bit of an investment, but how much is it worth to you? How much do you really want to get better at what you're doing? You know what I mean? Because if in order to hear things and to practice listening, you need. I mean, would
yeah.
you play a 3-string sweep arpeggio with 3 strings missing? I mean,
Right.
it's just sort of. I don't want to sound condescending here, and I really don't. I'm just trying to indicate the importance of our ears. They're really our identity, and it really what makes us different. You know,
It's
which is
unfortunate because
why.
that's as good an answer that we can really give as far as like what to practice is practice using your ears and listening. What I would say, like, because it's like it's an answer that's sort of disappointing, right? Like it's like,
Oh, totally.
oh, but if I get this thing, it'll be great. If I get this thing, it'll be great. My answers, my problems will be solved if I do X. However, you know, for me, if you ever check out like the book on, called like Ultra Learning, I think, or something like that, look up the subjects like meta learning as far as how to structure your practice. Because if you want to practice you want to practice hyper specific elements first, rather than thinking like, oh, well, I'm going to try EQ, and then I'm going to try compression, and then I'm going to try the saturation, and then I'm going to try this. And like, no. Practice one thing. Get the balance right first.
Fader mixing.
Yeah, fader mixing. Absolutely. Then EQ, and then compression. But like, do these things like a month. You know, do your balancing just for like a straight month until you get it down pat, and then move on to the next thing. So that would be my suggestion. How to practice exactly.
And it could also the ear thing to you can hear the differences. You could take songs and compare them.
Mm-hmm.
Just compare them. You know what does it mean for it to be bassy? You know, I mean, and that's where the really there's no such thing as like completely flat headphones and monitors, but more studio related gear can help you really understand like, ooh, that's really honky. I'm not really sure about that. Or, oh, wow, there's super sub happening here. Whereas like hi-fi speakers, they're hyped, you know, like Dr. Dre headphones. It's like a meme right now. Don't mix on Dr. Dre headphones.
They're great for
beats.
Great for low end.
Yeah, because they have
great
a
for checking
fucking
low end,
8K, like an 8 dB spike.
Oh yeah, I have a pair. I've used it. I've used it on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, got great mixes from that.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it really, you know, there's a shortcut for guitar tones, you know, presets and stuff like that. But unfortunately, you just cannot shortcut experience. And
Right.
the reason why I say ears are the most important skill I think to practice is because any experienced mixer, I mean, let's just say a guy who works in Cubase all the time with
Mhm.
Waves plugins. If he gets saddled with working in Pro Tools with stock plugins, he's still
Mhm.
going to have a great mix
Yep.
because he'll be uncomfortable. Maybe it'll take longer than normal, but I mean, he's still got what matters most to him, and that would be his ears, his main tool, his main instrument, and those will go with you everywhere. So that's why I say that. So,
Perfect. No, that's a great way to encapsulate that answer. Really, it's just that is what it is. Like, I know that as you said, it's like I can be in an uncomfortable situation, but I know that if I have my ears and I have, like, decent monitoring setup, like, I'll be good. I'll be good.
You'll adapt. And the ears
Mhm.
adapt very quickly, and then your experience and the skills will take over. Essentially,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's a good question, and I know it's heartbreaking to answer. Trust me.
Yeah. So Alexi's asking, we got two more questions.
All right.
Alexi asks, do black metal bands care about their production nowadays?
Only the ones who aren't elitist.
There you go. Simple answer.
Only the ones who are elitist, which, I mean, they usually are the ones that have jobs and money. The other ones are usually kids.
Yeah.
With no money anyway.
They don't have the perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Proshuria asks, with most metal guitars being hard panned, how do the great mixers manage to retain volume of the guitars in mono?
You don't, because they phase out. That's it. You just get used to it. And the reason they phase out is because they share a lot of that information, right? And they're double tracked essentially. If you can actually test this out, you could record a track, right? Copy paste it, pan it. It'll be right down the middle, and then tell me what happens when you put the mono button on. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you just get used to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're checking in mono, usually I'm just checking kick and bass relationship. What is on top of each other? What is more? Are they both audible? I'm usually never listening to guitars in mono.
Right. The only way that I've found to mitigate that, because you can't get rid of that, like that is just a thing, but I found to mitigate that, changing the EQ curve slightly of the two guitars, panned left and right, can help with that. But otherwise, it's pretty much not going to be. I guess it's just a thing that you deal with.
Yep. Like I said, you get used to it because after listening to it for so long, you'll understand what the levels need to be. And if you go through headphones and you go through your monitors, you'll have two different sources. You can just basically split the difference or split what you're hearing, and you'll be good.
Yeah. All right. Awesome.
Well,
so
periphery guitars sound huge in mono because they're loud.
Yeah, they're very loud. Yes.
That's why
they mix them loud.
That's a volume thing.
Yeah.
Actually, periphery mixes are slammed. They're really fucking loud, which is fine. That's their style.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. That's a good point. Well, cool. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Thanks to everybody who hung out in the chat and asked some really great questions this time. Thank you, Scott, for the awesome conversation.
Awesome.
This was great. I really enjoyed
I say
our
also
time.
That I'm sorry to butt in again. I just want to make it clear that I think it's really great what Neural DSP does in general, giving people the time of day to make their own plugin. The Archetype series. I think that's really nice. And the Abasi contest, for someone to do the solo, win a guitar, win a bunch of gear, dude, that's really awesome. And I think engaging with the community the way that you guys are and being, communicable, I think that's really good of a company, especially right now in current current situations and stuff like that. So I really enjoy that, and I just want to say the reason why I used Neural on the mixing extreme metal thing was I needed to make 3 different guitar tones. And it just made sense with me to use Neural because the interfaces are the same. I know the plugins that I'm working with, and it was just way faster. So for me to do that. It would have been a lot more work if I was using other things because there's more variables. So it's an honor for me to be on this channel. I never thought when I bought Nameless, what was that, 2017, 18?
Yeah.
Never would have thought that I'd be here in this position, having really the great honor to chat with you and everyone here. So I've had a lot of fun, and thank you. Honestly, truly, thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. Like I've said this on previous live streams. Like this sort of stuff where I get to talk with people like you and talk with the users and really kind of make sure that everybody has that like back and forth and can actually be a part of the conversation. Like that's a really important aspect for me personally in the position that I'm in, because I don't want to just sell the product. Like obviously, like, we're a company, we want to sell our product. But however, like I think that building the community and having, the kindness and the creativity and, showcasing what the users can do with what our products do is so much more important to me than anything else. And I truly do enjoy this aspect of my position here. And it's been super rewarding for me to see this sort of stuff flourish, It's
been a long time, dude. I mean, here's the thing: when you do good work, people find out about it. You know what I mean? And you just gotta keep doing a good job. And I mean, that's all there is to it. And Nero does a good job. Now, if Nero will just do an Angle plugin.
Angle is your jam. I totally get that. I mean, we'll see what the future holds. I mean, there's always opportunities, but we'll see.
I repeat, if Angle would do a plugin with Nero DSP.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. We'll
Jingle Nero DSP.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Proshuria says, also Steve is the only guy on YouTube who ever pronounced my name right. Proshuria. I appreciate that because I'm horrible with pronunciations. Like, if anybody's watched these, I'm just kind of like, I'm gonna butcher this.
But with Russian names and stuff, but you give me Polish name. Przemysław, the guitarist for the song. I was like, okay, dude, how do you say her name? And he's like, Przemysław. Okay, well, slowly now. Let me practice this. Przemysław. All right, I got it. Yeah. Who was that? They just asked me. Awaiting Chaos. No, I just use the same guitar. Listen, all the guitars I got are right here. I only got 2. And they're budget level. I got a budget. There's Geo 7-string, and I got a BC Rich Revenge White. One's like $200. The other one's $400. That's it. Stock pickups, never been worked on. I changed the strings myself. Okay, so we are very blessed to be and lucky to be in an era now where you can use off-the-shelf stuff and get really good results.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, thanks again to everyone in the chat. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks everyone here, dude.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, dude, it was my pleasure. So as always, we'll see you all in that next video.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.